Rowena Pike was stripped of her hunt cloak before the whole pack, while the sacred arrows trembled in their silver case. No one looked at the arrows first. They looked at her hands. That was where people always searched for age, as if every line across her knuckles were evidence against her. The same hands had dragged wounded boys out of thorn ravines, reset broken wolf jaws after moon-mad fights, tied white warning ribbons where the ground sank under snow, and once pressed hard over an alpha's bleeding side while he learned what fear tasted like. But this morning, in the Silverpine hunting ground, those hands were called unfit. Huntmaster Clovis Wren stood on the stone platform beneath the black pines, holding Rowena's old cloak as if it were something damp and unpleasant. Around him, young nobles in polished leathers watched with hungry faces. Their bows were new. Their boots had never softened around the ankle. Their fathers had paid for their place in the sacred hunt, and they wanted the forest to witness them being chosen. By order of Hunt Council Review, Clovis said, his voice gentle enough to sound merciful, Rowena Pike is relieved from leading the sacred hunt. A murmur passed through the pack. Rowena kept her chin level. Across the clearing, Alpha King Gareth Vale stood beneath the wolf banner arch, broad-shouldered in dark hunting armor, his black hair touched by winter light. He did not move. He did not stop it. His face was cut from the same cold discipline that had made kings of the Vale bloodline for 6 generations. Rowena had seen that face break once, years ago, in a forbidden part of this forest where no one was supposed to know Gareth had been. Clovis continued, "This is not punishment. It is protection. The Silverpine has grown unstable. We cannot ask aging reflexes to carry royal blood through sacred ground." A younger hunter laughed under his breath. Rowena heard it. So did Gareth. His jaw tightened, but still he said nothing. That silence hurt more than Clovis's words. Because Clovis wanted her gone. Gareth knew what she had given. Rowena looked at the Alpha King. "Is that your judgment, Majesty?" The clearing quieted. Gareth's gray eyes met hers. For one breath, the forest seemed to fall away. She remembered him younger, fevered, arrogant, bleeding into moss while she whispered, "Breathe, Gareth. Kings die like any other fool if they fight the woods." Now, he said, "The Huntmaster's recommendation stands." No one gasped. That would have been kinder. The pack accepted the sentence too easily. Rowena felt the old cloak slide from her shoulders. Cold morning air touched the back of her neck, where silver thread wolf marks had once named her lead huntress. Clovis handed the cloak to a boy barely old enough to grow a full moon beard. "Lorien Ash will take point." Lorien straightened, face flushed with pride. "I will honor the hunt." His new cloak still carried fresh pine resin from the ravine path he had scouted that morning. Rowena looked at his clean gloves. "Then learn not to promise the forest anything before you have listened to it breathe." Beyond the first black pines, at the mouth of the thorn ravine, a white warning ribbon was missing. Only one, but Rowena had tied it there herself. A few older wolves lowered their eyes. Clovis smiled. This is exactly why the council acted. Sentiment has become command in her mouth. She mistakes caution for wisdom. A hunt led by hesitation teaches young wolves to fear trees before they learn blood. "No," Rowena said quietly. "I mistake graves for teachers." The words entered the clearing like an arrow without a bow. Gareth's gaze sharpened. Too late. Rowena stepped down from the stone platform before anyone could make her removal look like surrender. Her boots knew every root under the frost. She moved with the measured care of someone who did not need speed to prove she still belonged. Behind Clovis, the silver case clicked. Once, then again. The sacred hunt arrows lay inside. 12 shafts of pale metal fletched with white wolf feather, older than any living alpha. Pack law said they flew true only for the hunter chosen by the forest. They had killed moon stags, blood boars, and once, in the old wars, a wolf prince who broke sacred ground. But the arrows did not choose pride, age, or blood. They answered the path. If a hunt road crossed hidden death, the shafts turned toward the last living hand that had marked the danger and been ignored. Today, they were meant to bless Lorien. Clovis turned quickly, opened the case. 2 attendants obeyed. The moment the lid rose, frost smoked from the arrows. Lorien reached for the first shaft. It slid away from his fingers. A nervous laugh moved through the nobles. Lorien tried again, faster this time. The arrow jerked sideways and struck the inside of the case so hard the silver rang. Clovis's smile thinned. Do not grab. Receive. Lorien swallowed and held out his palm. The arrow lifted. For one beautiful, terrible moment, the clearing believed. Then the shaft turned in midair and pointed past him, past Clovis, past the nobles, toward Rowena. She had stopped at the edge of the clearing, one hand empty, the other resting near the old knife at her belt. Her face did not change, but inside her chest something old and painful shifted awake. Clovis stepped in front of the arrow. A residual cloak bond, nothing more. The arrow curved around him. The pack went silent. Gareth took one step forward. Rowena looked at him then, and whatever he saw in her face made him stop before his boots touched the lower stair. Rowena, he said, low enough that only the nearest wolves heard the crack beneath her name. She hated that the sound still found the softest place in her. Do not make my name gentle after letting them strip it in public, she said. His eyes darkened. The arrow flew. Not fast. Not violent. It crossed the clearing like a memory that had waited too long to be believed, then lowered itself into Rowena Pike's empty hand. The moment her fingers closed around it, every wolf in the silver pine heard the same sound. Not a howl, not a horn, a hidden trapline, snapping somewhere deep in the sacred woods. Sacred arrow response. Chosen hunt path crossed a hidden trapline. Clovis did not deny the sacred hunt arrow had returned to Rowena Pike. He denied that an old bond could judge the hunt path. Residual cloak memory, he said, calm, while the silver shaft rested in Rowena's empty hand. She wore the lead cloak for 27 seasons. The arrow remembers habit, not truth. The clearing wanted to believe him. It was easier than believing the sacred root had just answered an old woman after the pack stripped her name in public. Rowena did not lift the arrow. She did not aim it. She only let it rest across her palm, cold and bright as winter moonlight, pointing toward the thorn ravine beyond the first black pines. Gareth Vale's eyes followed the shaft. For one breath, his face changed. Not belief. Memory. He had bled near that ravine once, years ago, on ground no alpha was supposed to cross before coronation. Rowena had dragged him out by the back of his collar, while something iron-toothed snapped shut behind them. Clovis stepped down from the platform. Majesty, we cannot let the sacred hunt begin with panic. Old warning ribbons rot. A hunt cannot be ruled by every strip of cloth she tied 10 winters ago. Rowena looked at him. Then ask why the one at the ravine mouth is gone. A murmur moved through the pack. Lorien Ash's face flushed darker beneath the new lead cloak. The ravine path was cleared this morning. Rowena's gaze moved to the fresh pine resin still streaking his hem. Cleared by whom? By scouts, Lorien said, young enough to move before frost thickened. Clovis smiled faintly. You see? Decisive hunters. Not fearful detours. No, Rowena said. A clean path is not the same as a safe one. Gareth's voice cut through the clearing. Who chose the hunt path? Clovis turned at once. The council approved the ravine route last night. It is shorter, cleaner, and better for viewing the first kill. The first kill, Rowena repeated. Something in her voice made several older wolves look toward the trees. Clovis softened his tone. That made it more dangerous. The sacred hunt is not a funeral walk, Rowena. Young wolves need glory. They need blood under moon law. They need to come home, she said. Gareth looked at her then. She hated that he looked almost pained. Pain was cheap after silence. He turned back to Clovis. Were Rowena Pike's warning ribbons still posted when the path was cleared? Clovis's brows drew together. I would not know every rag in the woods, Majesty. Rowena lifted the arrow slightly. The shaft trembled once. Not toward Clovis, toward the ravine. Ask who moved the path, she said. Ask whether the forest warned before the boy reached for glory. Lorien stiffened. I am not a boy. No, Rowena said. You are a hunter wearing a route you did not question. The words struck him harder than insult. Because they were not cruel. They were true. Gareth looked to the hunt scribe. Bring the path slate. The scribe hesitated, glancing at Clovis. Rowena saw it. So did Gareth. His jaw hardened. Bring it to me, not to him. The scribe hurried to the council table and returned with a black slate etched in silver lines. The official route gleamed across it, curving straight through the thorn ravine. Gareth studied it. Was this the original route? Clovis answered before the scribe could. The council revised the old ridge path for efficiency. Rowena laughed once. It held no humor. Efficiency is what men call danger, when women already warned them where it waits. Gareth's eyes flicked to her. She did not soften the line for him. The arrow suddenly jerked in her hand. A silver hiss cut through the clearing. The shaft pulled free from her fingers and flew low over the frost. Not toward a beast, not toward a target, but toward the ravine mouth. It struck the snow beside a black pine root. The ground snapped open. Iron teeth clashed where Lorien's first step would have landed. The sound cracked across the clearing. Several young nobles stumbled back. Lorien went white. Clovis's voice rose, but only slightly. Animal snare. The forest is full of old hunter waste. Rowena walked toward the sprung trap. No one stopped her, not even Gareth. She knelt beside the iron teeth, careful not to touch the hinge. The trapline ran beneath snow and root, newer than the frost crust, hidden under brushed pine needles. Near the trigger wire, a torn white fiber clung to a thorn. Rowena picked it up. A warning ribbon. Her warning ribbon. Cut, not rotted. She held it up where every wolf could see. The forest did not forget my marker, she said. Someone wanted the path to look clean on paper. Clovis's face remained smooth. A torn ribbon proves nothing except that old markings cannot be trusted. Then why did the arrow turn before blood was spilled? Silence took the clearing. Gareth stepped closer, then stopped short of standing beside her. Good. He had not earned that place. His voice came lower. Was Rowena's objection entered in the hunt record? The scribe looked down. There is no objection recorded for this morning. Rowena's hand closed around the cut ribbon. Because no one asked me before they stripped the cloak. Gareth absorbed that without answer. Clovis spread his hands. Majesty, the route was cleared. The snare was hidden. No one could have known. Rowena looked at the arrow buried in snow beside the trap. It knew. The second sacred hunt arrow lifted from the open case behind them and flew to the path slate. Its silver point scraped across the etched root, cutting a new line beneath the official mark. The scribe bent over it, face draining. Gareth's voice hardened. Read what it marked. The scribe swallowed. Hunt path record. Sacred route redirected through marked trapline. Clovis did not deny the sacred route had crossed a marked trapline. He denied that a cut ribbon proved deliberate removal. Winter cuts cloth, Majesty, he said, his voice steady, while the sprung iron teeth still smoked in the frost. Old warnings tear before old pride does. One ribbon caught on thorn cannot condemn a hunt council. Rowena Pike stood beside the open trapline with the torn white fiber pinched between two fingers. She did not raise her voice. That would have made it easier for them to call her frantic. The ribbon was cut under old frost, she said, not torn by wind. Clovis gave a small, patient sigh. She has marked half this forest for years. Sinkholes, bad roots, old dens, deadfall, wolf, snares left from border raids. If every cloth she tied stopped the sacred hunt, young wolves would learn detours before courage. They would learn to return alive, Rowena said. Lorien Ash looked from the iron trap to the ravine mouth, his proud color gone pale. I saw no ribbon when we cleared the path. Rowena turned to him. Then ask whether you saw no danger, or whether someone made sure you saw no marker. His mouth opened. No answer came. Gareth Vale stood near the official path slate, the silver hunt arrow's new line, still glowing beneath the council route. He had not come to Rowena's side. Good. He had not earned the ground beside her. But his voice hardened when he looked at the hunt scribe. Who cleared the ravine path? The scribe swallowed. Lorien Ash's scout party, Majesty, under council clearance. Who reviewed their note? Clovis answered before the scribe could. I did, as Huntmaster. Gareth's eyes remained on the scribe. Let him answer when I ask. The clearing stilled. The scribe lowered his head. Huntmaster Wren reviewed it. Clovis smiled faintly. As I said. Rowena looked toward the ravine. The pines there stood too neat. That was what had bothered her first, not the missing ribbon alone, the silence around it. Birds did not avoid warning cloth. They avoided fresh human handling. Ask when the white markers were last seen, she said. Gareth did. The scribe opened the side ledger with trembling fingers. 3 days ago, Elder Route Inspection. Rowena Pike marked Thorn Ravine Mouth, Snow Sink East Route, and Lower Wire Hazard. A murmur moved through the older hunters. Clovis lifted one hand. 3 days is enough for weather damage. Rowena held up the torn fiber. Weather phrase, knives decide. The sacred hunt arrow in her other hand trembled once. Not toward Clovis, toward the ravine trees, then toward the council table. Gareth saw. Were Rowena's markers entered into the hunt map? The scribe looked down. Clovis's voice softened. Majesty, elder notes are advisory. The final hunt map must remain clear for movement. Rowena gave a quiet laugh. Clear. That word again. Every danger in this forest becomes clean once my hand is removed from the page. Gareth looked at the map. Answer. The scribe whispered. Her markers were entered in the elder inspection layer. And in the final root layer? No, Majesty. The air changed. Not enough. But enough for every wolf there to understand that the forest had warned before the hunt began. Clovis remained calm. That was his strength. Layered maps prevent clutter. Young scouts need a direct view, not a grandmother's fear web. Rowena's eyes sharpened. Do not call survival a fear. Web because you prefer boys who run straight. Lorien flinched, but she did not look at him cruelly. He was not the knife. Not yet. He was the hand that had been taught not to notice where the knife had cut. Gareth turned another page of the path slate record. Who authorized removal of old warning ribbons? No one removed them, Clovis said smoothly. The ravine was cleared of fallen brush, loose thorn, and old cloth debris. That is not the same thing. Rowena stepped closer. Old cloth debris? Clovis met her gaze. Your ribbons were never law. No, she said. They were warnings. Law came too late for the men buried under it. Gareth's jaw tightened. She saw the old memory hit him. Moss. Blood. His breath breaking under her palm. A forbidden trail he had survived because she had tied a strip of white cloth across a branch he wanted to ignore. He looked away first. Pain crossed his face. She let him keep it. Pain was not repair. The arrow suddenly lifted from Rowena's palm and flew to the council table. It struck the corner of a rolled leather tube and split the cord around it. A smaller low slid out. Not the public hunt map, a marker ledger. The scribe's face drained. Clovis went very still, but only for a breath. Routine clearing notes, he said. Nothing more. Gareth's voice lowered. Read. The scribe hesitated. Rowena watched him glance toward Clovis. Gareth saw it too. Read before the forest has to speak a second time, Gareth said. The scribe opened the ledger. White marker inspection. Thorn Ravine Mouth. Present 3 days before hunt. Snow, Sink East Route. Present 3 days before hunt. Lower Wire Hazard. Present 3 days before hunt. Clovis said. And after storms, any may have torn. The arrow dragged its silver point down the next line. The scribe stopped breathing. Rowena's hand closed slowly around the cut ribbon. Gareth stepped forward, then stopped short again, as if remembering she had not invited him near her wound. Finish it, he said. The scribe's voice broke. Clearing update. Morning of sacred hunt. White markers removed from ravine route before horn call. Silence fell hard enough to bend the young pines. Clovis did not speak. Rowena looked at the missing place between the trees where her warning had been, and her voice came low. The path was not cleared. It was stripped of warning. The silver hunt arrow scraped one final line into the marker ledger. The scribe read it because no one else could. Warning, ribbon, log. White markers removed before sacred hunt. Clovis did not deny the white markers had been removed before the sacred hunt. He denied that removal meant the path had been falsely cleared. Elder review is advisory, Majesty, he said, standing beside the marker ledger, as if the record had not just cut his silence open. Final clearance belongs to the Hunt Council. Rowena Pike had already been relieved from active authority. Rowena felt the sentence land exactly where he aimed it. Relieved. Not stripped. Not shamed. Not made voiceless before the forest tried to speak for her. She held the torn ribbon between her fingers. Ask who called my markers clutter before reading the ledger. Gareth Vale looked from the white fiber to the ravine path. where the snapped trapline still gaped beneath the snow. His face was hard, but not clean. Guilt had begun to move under it. Too late to warm her. Was Rowena Pike consulted before final clearance? He asked. The hunt scribe looked down at the ledger. No, Majesty. Clovis answered smoothly. She was no longer lead authority. She was the one who marked the danger, Gareth said. She marked many dangers, Clovis replied. That is the issue. A retired huntress sees graves before trails. Rowena's eyes did not leave him. And a vain hunter sees trails before graves. A few young nobles shifted. Lorien Ash stood near the platform, still wearing the cloak taken from her shoulders. His fingers kept brushing the resin-stained hem as if he could wipe the ravine from it. Gareth turned to him. Who signed the ravine path safe? Lorien swallowed. My scout note was submitted to council clearance. That is not an answer. Clovis placed one steady hand on Lorien's shoulder. The boy cleared what he was told to clear. Do not punish decisiveness because an old snare woke beneath snow. Rowena's voice cut low. Ask whether the path was safe, or merely young enough to sign. Lorien flinched. Gareth saw. Read the scout note, he ordered. The scribe unrolled a narrow strip of bark paper from the clearance tube. Ravine mouth visible. Brush cut. Old cloth debris removed. No active beast scent. No open wire seen. Route fit for first arrow procession. Rowena closed her eyes for one breath. Not to break, to listen backward. Brush cut. Cloth removed. No wire seen. A clean path. A blind one. Was Lorien's note checked against the elder inspection layer? Gareth asked. The scribe's thumb tightened on the paper. No, Majesty. The clearing went still. Clovis's smile faded only at the edges. Layer comparison is not required for final clearance when active scouts certify the path. Rowena stepped toward the path slate. Then your final clearance is not a forest judgment. It is young confidence written over old warning. Clovis turned to the pack before Gareth could answer. Listen to what she asks. That no root move unless every elder fear is weighed. That no young hunter be trusted until age approves him. Is this the sacred hunt, or a shrine to hesitation? The younger wolves stirred. He was good. He knew how to make caution sound like shame. Gareth's voice snapped through them. Silence. The word did not comfort Rowena. He had not used it when they laughed at her hands. But it stopped the room now. Were elder markers reviewed before removal? Gareth asked. The scribe read again, slower. No review entered. Who excluded elder huntress review from the final route? Clovis lifted his chin. The council procedure excludes inactive command by design. Once a lead is relieved, her notes remain historical reference unless re-entered by active authority. Rowena laughed once. The sound was quiet enough to be dangerous. Historical reference, she said. Yesterday's warning becomes history when a man needs a prettier path. Gareth looked at her. There was pain in his eyes again. She did not take it. Pain had no use, unless it changed the hand-holding power. The silver hunt arrow beside the sprung trap lifted from the snow. It did not fly to Rowena this time. It flew to the path slate and struck the final root layer. Silver sparks crawled across the etched line. One by one, Rowena's elder marks vanished from beneath the official route, not because the danger vanished, but because the final map had never carried them forward. The pack watched the warnings disappear in light. Thorn ravine mouth, snow sink east route, lower wire hazard, all missing from the final clearance. Gareth's voice came rougher. Did the final map lose every warning from Rowena's inspection? The scribe could barely speak. Yes, Majesty. Clovis's tone sharpened. The final map prioritized movement. The hunt cannot crawl through every old scar in the woods. Rowena turned on him. Those scars are where the woods remembers who did not crawl carefully enough. Lorien looked at her then, truly looked. Not at her age. At the trap. At the missing marks. At the cloak on his own shoulders. I did not see them, he whispered. Rowena's voice softened, but not into forgiveness. No. You were given a clean lie and called it a clear path. Gareth turned to the council table. Bring the clearance seal. Clovis stepped forward. Majesty, this is turning a route correction into a public trial. No, Gareth said. It became public when her cloak was taken before the pack. The words hit the clearing. Rowena felt them. She did not let them heal anything. The scribe placed the final clearance seal beside the path slate. The arrow lowered, touched the wax, and pulled free a thin silver shaving hidden beneath it. A secondary note unfurled. Gareth looked at the scribe. Read. The scribe's lips trembled. Scout clearance. Note. Ravine path marked safe without Elder Huntress review. Clovis did not deny the ravine path had been marked safe without Elder Huntress review. He denied that Rowena's removal had shaped the clearance. Removal review began before final clearance, Majesty, he said, his hand still resting near the council seal as if procedure could steady the ground beneath him. The council had authority to proceed. Personnel matters and route certification are separate. Rowena Pike stood with the torn ribbon in one hand and the silver hunt arrow's cold light across her knuckles. Separate. That was how men cut cause away from consequence. First, they took the cloak. Then they took the warning. Then they called the clean map innocent. She looked at Gareth Vale. Ask which came first, my removal or the clean map. The Alpha King's eyes stayed on her for one breath too long. There was something there now, not softness, not yet belief, but the look of a man finally hearing the order of his own mistake. He turned to the hunt scribe. When was Rowena Pike relieved? The scribe bent over the council timing slate. At first horn, Majesty. Public notice entered before the sacred hunt assembly. And when was final route clearance signed? The scribe turned another page. Clovis spoke first. Final signatures were completed after the active lead was confirmed. That is ordinary. Gareth's voice cut flat. I asked the scribe. The younger nobles shifted. Rowena did not. She had learned long ago not to mistake a corrected tone for repaired damage. The scribe swallowed. Final clearance was signed at second horn. After, the word did not need to be spoken. Every wolf in the clearing heard it anyway. Rowena looked toward the ravine. Ask when my warnings became history. Gareth did not look away this time. Were her notes downgraded after her removal? The scribe's fingers trembled over the slate. Yes, Majesty. Elder Inspection Layer reclassified as historical reference after lead authority transfer. Clovis lifted one palm. Because she no longer held active command. The map must answer the hunter who leads, not the woman who used to. Rowena's mouth curved without warmth. The forest did not stop holding traps because you stopped holding my title. A low murmur moved through the older hunters. Clovis turned toward them. You hear the danger. She believes her judgment outranks the hunt structure. If a retired huntress can freeze the sacred hunt with old ribbons, then no alpha, no council, no young lead can move without her permission. Rowena stepped closer to the path slate. No, I believe a trap outranks your pride. Gareth looked down. The silver hunt arrow trembled at the edge of the final clearance seal. Its point scraped lightly along 3 marks. First horn, cloak transfer, second horn. The sequence glowed. Lorien Ash stared at it, face pale under Rowena's former cloak. I was named lead before the route was finalized? He asked. Clovis's tone softened toward him. As tradition requires. The lead must be named before he can carry the route. Rowena looked at Lorien. A route should not need a boy in my cloak before it becomes safe. Lorien flinched again. She did not enjoy it. That was the worst part. He was proud, careless, hungry to be seen, but he had not invented the silence that fed him. Gareth asked. Was Lorien named lead before the route was finalized? The scribe answered, Yes, Majesty. And after Rowena was relieved? Yes. Gareth's jaw tightened. Did the council need Rowena removed before the ravine route could pass? Clovis's eyes sharpened. That is an accusation shaped like a question. No, Rowena said. It is a map finally learning to tell time. The arrow lifted. Not to her hand. Not to Gareth. It flew to the council timing slate and struck the edge of a folded addendum hidden under the final route page. Silver light ran along the wax like frost finding a crack. The scribe reached for it, then paused. He looked at Clovis. Gareth saw. Rowena saw. Even Lorien saw. Read without asking the man whose seal hid it, Gareth said. The scribe broke the wax. Clovis remained calm, but the stillness around him had changed. It was no longer confidence. It was calculation. The scribe read, Active chain required before final ravine clearance. Elder command conflict to be resolved prior to second horn. Gareth's voice lowered. Meaning? The scribe looked sick. The route could not be finalized while Rowena Pike remained lead authority. Silence entered the clearing like winter through a broken door. Rowena felt it touch her shoulders where the cloak had been. She remembered the laughter, the hands looking at her age. Gareth saying the recommendation stood. Her removal had not been beside the false path. It had been part of the path. Clovis stepped forward. Majesty, every command must resolve conflict before a sacred procession. The council needed a clean chain of authority. Rowena's voice came quiet. Clean again. You keep washing blood off words before the hunt even begins. Gareth looked at her then, and the regret in his face was no longer hidden enough to be useful. She did not take it. Do not look at me as if grief is a verdict, she said. Use the record. He took the words like a cut he deserved. Then he faced the scribe. Was the route cleared by scouts or by silence? The scribe's lips parted. For a moment, no one moved. The silver hunt arrow scraped one final line across the timing slate, binding first horn to second horn in bright silver. The scribe read because the forest had left him nowhere to hide. Elder Huntress exclusion. Rowena Pike removed before route clearance was finalized. The timing slate did not accuse Clovis by name. That was what made him breathe again. It accused the order of things. First horn, Rowena Pike relieved. Lead cloak transferred. White markers removed. Second horn, ravine route finalized. The silver hunt arrow held the sequence in pale light, while the whole pack watched the sacred hunt become less like tradition and more like a path built out of silence. Clovis Wren straightened. Sequence is not conspiracy, Majesty. A route must be finalized after command is settled. That is not betrayal. That is governance. Rowena Pike looked at the glowing marks. Governance is what men call a trap when the paperwork is clean. Gareth Vale's face tightened. Not because she had spoken sharply, because the words knew where to cut him. He had once hidden behind clean authority, too. Years ago, before the crown sat fully on his head, before his wolf had learned to carry command without flinching. He had entered the forbidden ravine during moonless frost because young blood hated being told no. And Rowena had paid for his lesson with silence. Clovis lifted his voice to the pack. Do not let grief turn records into omens. The marker removal was part of clearance. The final route was approved afterward because the ravine had been made passable. Passable, Rowena repeated. Not safe. Gareth looked to the scribe. Read the final route revision. The scribe bent over the hidden addendum. His fingers were stiff with cold. Final route revision. Ravine route approved after marker removal and brush clearing. A murmur spread. Clovis inclined his head. Exactly. After clearing. Rowena stepped closer to the path slate. Ask what was removed. Gareth did. The scribe read lower. White cloth markers. Thorn tags. Elder warning notches. Fallen warning branch. The old hunters went silent at that last one. Gareth noticed. Explain. Rowena's throat tightened before she could stop it. The fallen warning branch was not official. It was older than ink. A cut pine limb placed across the mouth of a path meant one thing to any hunter who had survived more than pride. Do not enter unless you know who left it there. She said, a warning branch is not brush. Clovis smiled faintly. It is a branch. No, Rowena said. It is the forest speaking in a language young Glory does not bother to learn. Lorien Ash looked down at the cloak on his shoulders as if its weight had doubled. I moved one. Rowena turned to him. The clearing went still. Clovis's hand tightened once at his side. Lorien's voice faltered. It was across the ravine mouth. I thought it was deadfall. The note said clear brush from the first arrow path. Rowena did not strike him with blame. That would have been easy. You were told to clean a warning away, she said. His eyes reddened. I did not know. No, she said. That is the shape of this harm. Gareth looked at the revision page. Who wrote brush over warning branch? Clovis answered smoothly. Route language must be simple for scout parties. Rowena's laugh was quiet and bitter. Simple enough to make a boy carry death out of the road with both hands. The silver hunt arrow trembled. Not toward the new records. Toward the old ravine. Then toward Gareth. Every wolf in the clearing felt the shift. Gareth's face went still. Rowena closed her fingers around the torn ribbon. Do not. But the arrow did not obey her. It rose from the timing slate and flew to an older stone, half buried beside the platform. a black memorial marker carved with the names of hunters lost before Gareth's reign. Its silver point struck the moss at the base. A hidden seam opened. The pack stared. Clovis looked genuinely uncertain for the first time. The scribe knelt and drew out a narrow bone token wrapped in white cloth. Gareth's voice was almost soundless. "Leave it." Rowena looked at him. There he was. Not Alpha King, not Judge. The young wolf from the forbidden ravine, bleeding into moss, terrified that his first act of defiance would become the story that ended his rule before it began. She had hidden that story. He had let them take her cloak. "No," she said. "You do not get silence from me twice." The words struck him in front of everyone. Gareth lowered his head. "Read it," he said. The scribe unwrapped the token. Private field marker. Forbidden ravine breach. Young royal blood recovered from lower wire hazard. Warning branch placed by Rowena Pike. Report sealed under Crown discretion. A sound moved through the clearing. Not loud. Worse. Understanding. Clovis recovered quickly. "Majesty, an old royal incident has no bearing on today's clearance." Rowena looked at Gareth. "It has bearing on why you knew I was not afraid of trees." Gareth's eyes lifted to hers. Pain there, shame there, and something more dangerous because it arrived too late. Truth. "You saved me there," he said, voice rough. Rowena did not let the words become tender. "I saved the pack from knowing their future. Alpha had chased glory into forbidden ground and nearly died for it." Gareth absorbed the blow. No excuse. No defense. Good. Clovis turned to the crowd. "Then perhaps that is the issue. She has held old leverage over the crown for years." Rowena faced him. "I held silence, not leverage. There is a difference only honorable men understand." The silver hunt arrow scraped across the final route, revision, one last time. The scribe read the line it uncovered beneath the fresh ink. Final route revision. Ravine route approved after Rowena's markers were stripped. The final route revision did not make Rowena Pike step closer to the council table. It made her step back. That was what Gareth Vale noticed first. Not the pale faces of the young hunters, not the way Lorien Ash kept touching the cloak on his shoulders as if it had turned to wet stone. Not even Clovis Wren's careful stillness beside the exposed records. Rowena stepped back from all of them, from the path slate, from the silver arrows, from the place where her name had only begun to matter because danger had forced it to. Gareth's voice came low. "Matron Pike." She looked at him once. The title did not heal what his silence had broken. "Do not dress the wound after letting them make it public," she said. The clearing tightened around the words. Clovis saw the opening and moved into it. "Majesty, this is precisely why personal grievance cannot govern the sacred hunt. The route record has been clarified. The markers were removed as part of clearance. The hunt must continue under active command." Rowena turned toward him. "Then continue." The pack shifted. Gareth's eyes sharpened. "Rowena." "No," she said. "That is what you wanted. A hunt without old fear. A path without my ribbons. A young lead without my hand on his shoulder. Continue." Lorien went pale. "I cannot lead through that ravine." Clovis's mouth tightened. "You can, and you will. The trap has been sprung. The danger is known." Rowena looked toward the thorn ravine where the snow still showed the black mouth of the trapline. One trap snapping does not make the woods honest. A silver hunt arrow lifted from the slate. It hovered between the ravine and Rowena, waiting. She did not reach for it. Gareth saw. So did every hunter in the clearing. Clovis gave a restrained laugh. "Now she withholds even the sacred instrument. Majesty, this is not dignity, it is punishment." Rowena's eyes did not leave the arrow. "No, punishment is sending wolves down a cleaned path because the woman who marked it grew inconvenient." Gareth stepped forward, then stopped before reaching her side. He was learning distance. It was not the same as repair. "What do you require?" he asked. Rowena laughed softly. It hurt more than anger. "You still ask as if I am a tool misplaced from your belt." His face changed. She continued. "You required my silence once when you bled in forbidden ground. You required my knowledge when the woods killed faster than pride could run. You required my cloak until young nobles wanted a cleaner story. I am done being required." The old hunters lowered their eyes, not in shame for her, in recognition. Gareth's jaw worked once. "Then what do you choose?" The question entered the clearing differently. Rowena looked at him for a long moment. I choose not to lead a sacred hunt built on erased warnings. Clovis's voice hardened. Refusal before the pack is desertion of sacred duty. No, Rowena said. Desertion was taking my name from the root before the forest was finished speaking. The silver hunt arrow dropped. It struck the path slate hard enough to crack the final root layer. Silver light ran through the split. A hidden underlayer appeared beneath the official path. The scribe leaned over it, face draining again. There is another timing record. Clovis turned sharply. Leave it. The route has already been reviewed. Gareth's gaze cut to him. You do not decide when the forest is finished. The scribe opened the underlayer with shaking fingers. Rowena did not move closer. If truth needed her hand every time, they would only learn to borrow it. Read, Gareth ordered. The scribe swallowed. Council timing record. Lead cloak transfer entered before elder warnings reviewed. Final route hearing advanced after Rowena Pike's removal. A rough sound moved through the older hunters. Lorien closed his eyes. Clovis recovered quickly. Administrative order. The cloak must be transferred before a lead can attend final hearing. Rowena looked at the young hunter. Did you attend that hearing? Lorien's throat worked. No. Huntmaster Wren said the council had already settled the route. Then you were not given command, she said. You were given my cloak and a lie to stand in. His hands went still on the hem. Gareth looked at Clovis. Why was the final route hearing advanced? Clovis did not flinch. Because the sacred hunt cannot wait forever, while old objections circle the same tree. Rowena stepped away from the platform. The arrow followed, hovering near her shoulder. She stopped. It stopped. She turned back to Gareth. This is what your silence bought. A boy wearing my cloak. A map without my warnings. A council hearing moved before the forest could be answered. Do not ask me to fix the shame neatly so the hunt can proceed. Gareth's face had gone hard with something beyond guilt. Responsibility. Maybe. Too late to be pretty. What will you do? He asked. Rowena looked toward the dark trees beyond the ravine. I will walk the old boundary myself. I will mark every trap the council cleaned from its paper. Any hunter with sense may follow at a distance. No one follows under sacred procession. No horn. No first kill. No glory. Clovis stepped forward. You have no authority to command the hunt. Rowena's hand opened. The silver hunt arrow lowered into it without ceremony. I am not commanding your hunt, she said. I am refusing to let the forest use my silence to bury fools. She turned and walked toward the old boundary trail. Not fast, not dramatic, no cloak on her shoulders. Only the arrow in her hand and the torn ribbon tied around her wrist like a scar the pack had finally been forced to see. Behind her, Gareth spoke. Not to her, to the pack. No one enters the ravine under sacred hunt law until every erased warning is found. Clovis's voice cut cold. That suspends the hunt. No, Gareth said. It suspends the lie that we were ready. Rowena did not turn back. The first step beyond the black pines answered beneath her boot. A buried line snapped tight across the old boundary trail. Then another. Then 5 more, deeper in the woods. The silver hunt arrow burned bright in her hand. The scribe's voice carried from behind her, thin with fear. Council timing record. Lead cloak transferred before elder warnings were reviewed. The 5 buried lines did not spring all at once. That was the mercy. They tightened one after another beneath the old boundary trail, each hidden wire singing through the frost like a thin silver scream. Snow jumped from black roots. Pine branches shivered, though no wind moved through them. Farther inside the trees, something iron shifted under the ground and settled again, waiting. Rowena Pike did not step forward. She raised one hand. Every hunter behind her stopped. No horn, no glory. Only breath held between pride and death. Gareth Vale reached the tree line with the pack behind him, but he did not cross into her space. He stood where the public ground ended and the forest began, the place where he should have listened before the cloak ever left her shoulders. Name what you need, he said. Rowena did not look at him. No, name what you broke. His face tightened. Clovis Wren stepped from behind him, clean boots stopping short of the boundary frost. Majesty, she is using danger to command the clearing. Rowena's mouth curved without warmth. Danger was already commanding the clearing. I am the first one polite enough to answer. A few older hunters shifted their weight toward her voice. Gareth heard it. More importantly, he did not try to take it from her. He turned to the hunt scribe. Bring the sealed hunt records. Clovis's head moved sharply. Those records belong to post-hunt review. The hunt did not begin, Gareth said. The review begins now. The scribe ran back toward the council table. Rowena kept her eyes on the boundary. The silver hunt arrow burned in her hand, not hot, but aware. Its point leaned toward the wire nearest her boot, then toward a low pine root where the snow sat too smooth. Do not touch the white crust near that root, she said. Lorian Ash, pale beneath her stolen cloak, froze with one foot half lifted. Rowena glanced at him. Put your heel where the moss is dark, slowly. He obeyed. His boot settled an inch from a buried trigger. His voice broke. I would have stepped there. Yes, Rowena said. That is why clean paths kill proud boys. The line hit him in front of everyone. But it did not humiliate him. It taught him. Gareth watched her save the boy wearing her cloak. That hurt him in a place silence could not protect. The scribe returned with a long black box bound in wolfhide. Silver seals crossed its lid. Old hunt records, not meant to be opened before the sacred hunt concluded. Clovis put out a hand. Majesty, if you open those under pressure, you weaken hunt law. Gareth looked at the box, then at Rowena's bare shoulders. Hunt law weakened when it let her be stripped before the warnings were read. The clearing shifted. Rowena felt the words land. She did not let them become comfort. A correct sentence was only a match. It still had to light something. Gareth broke the first seal himself, then the second. Then he stopped, not because he hesitated, because he turned the box toward Rowena. Which record matters? He asked. Clovis laughed softly. She is no longer lead authority. Gareth did not look away from her. She is the only one here who has kept us from walking into 6 buried lines. Rowena's throat tightened against something unwelcome. Not forgiveness. Recognition was dangerous enough. She pointed with the arrow. Old boundary ledger, 3rd fold, not the public map. The scribe opened the fold. Inside lay narrow strips of treated bark, each marked in different hands. Young scouts wrote fast, clean, straight. Rowena's older notes bent around roots, water sinks, animal habits, wind breaks. The arrow lowered to one of her marks. Gareth read aloud. Rowena Pike, lower boundary trail, wire tension beneath frost crust. Do not send first procession. Mark with double white. Clovis said, old entry. The arrow snapped to another strip. Gareth read again. Rowena Pike, Thorn Ravine pressure wrong after North Patrol. Possible reset line. No lead transfer until Elder review. A murmur moved through the pack. The phrase struck harder than the trap. No lead transfer until Elder review. Rowena looked at Gareth. He had gone very still. Clovis's voice sharpened. Recommendations, not commands. Gareth opened another record. Why were they not included in today's final review? Clovis answered, because the council needed active route notes. Rowena said, ask who decided living warnings, became old entries. Gareth looked to the scribe. The young man's fingers shook. Review filter applied before first horn. Elder Huntress notes moved to archive unless reaffirmed by active lead. Lorian's face twisted. But I was not active lead yet. Rowena looked at him. Exactly. The silver hunt arrow lifted from her hand. It flew back to the record box and struck the review filter seal. The wax split, revealing a line beneath it in thin black ink. Gareth's voice lowered. Read it. The scribe swallowed. Filter instruction. Remove pike markings from active route packet after cloak transfer. Use scout, safe language for first arrow procession. Clovis stepped forward. Administrative clarity. Rowena turned at last. No. That is how you make a grave look like a route. Gareth faced the pack. His voice carried through the pines. Record this under my name. Rowena Pike's warnings were not clutter. They were active forest evidence. I allowed her cloak to be taken before that evidence was heard. That failure is mine before it is anyone else's. Clovis went still. Rowena did too. The public words did not mend what had been done, but they cost him something. That was the first repair worth hearing. Gareth looked at Rowena, not asking for gratitude. The hunt records stay open. Clovis Wren will answer each seal in front of the pack. Clovis's face cooled. Majesty, careful. If you strip trust from your Huntmaster, you strip trust from your own command. Gareth's eyes did not move. Then my command can learn to stand without hiding behind him. The silver hunt arrow lowered into the open record box. A hidden strip slid free from beneath the filter seal. The scribe read it with a voice that barely held. Sealed hunt record. Pike warning maps removed from active route packet before first horn. The hidden strip did not make Rowena Pike smile. It made her walk deeper into the trees. The pack followed because the silver hunt arrows followed her. Not Gareth. Not Clovis. Not the boy wearing her cloak. Rowena moved along the old boundary trail with one arrow in her hand and 3 more gliding above the frost like pale hunting birds. Each shaft dipped where the snow lay too smooth, where a root had been cut and pushed back into place, where pine needles had been brushed over iron. Behind her, young nobles stepped where she told them to step. For once, they did not laugh at caution. Left of the black stone, Rowena said. Lorien Ash obeyed at once. A hidden wire snapped upright where his other boot would have landed. He went gray. Rowena did not look back to see if he was grateful. Gratitude from frightened boys did not restore what proud men had taken. Clovis Wren's voice carried through the pines. Majesty, these are old border defenses. The silver pine has always held forgotten war lines. Rowena stopped beside a bent cedar. Forgotten war lines do not get fresh oil on their hinges. Gareth Vale crouched near the trap she had pointed out. He touched the iron carefully, then lifted his fingers. Black grease stained his glove. His face hardened. Clovis did not falter. Patrol maintenance. Border clans cross through these woods. Then ask why the maintenance line sits under the sacred hunt route, Rowena said. Gareth looked to the scribe, who had been forced to carry the open record box through snow and shame. Check the boundary ledger. The scribe flipped bark strips with numb fingers. No active patrol line recorded here. Clovis's tone cooled. Not every defensive precaution is placed in public hunt ledgers. Rowena looked at him. Sacred ground is not your private throat to fill with teeth. The older hunters made a low sound, not a gasp, a warning. The arrows rose higher. All 12 now had left the silver case behind. They moved through the forest in separate directions, then returned, each point shining toward a different hidden mechanism. A pit under fern crust, a spring hook behind a berry hedge, a wire crossing wolf height between 2 pines, a jaw trap sunk beneath the place where first blood procession drums would have paused. Lorien whispered, "This is not one trap." "No," Rowena said. "This is a killing ground." Clovis turned to the pack before fear settled into certainty. Or proof that Rowena's old terror has poisoned interpretation. A true huntress sees prey. She sees graves. Rowena faced him. Moonlight silvered the lines at the corners of her eyes. They had mocked those lines this morning. Now every one of them looked like a map the forest had written, because paper could be bought. "I see where men planned for bodies to fall," she said. "Do not mistake that for fear." Gareth stood slowly. "Who authorized traps inside the sacred hunt path?" Clovis looked at him with quiet disappointment, as if the Alpha King were the one becoming unreasonable. "Majesty, if I had been informed of active defenses, I would have reviewed them." Rowena gave a soft laugh. "You always stand just far enough from the blade to call yourself clean." The line hit. Gareth did not step in front of her. He did not turn her truth into his protection. He looked at the scribe. Search for private field annexes under Clovis Wren's seal. Clovis's face changed by a fraction. Enough. The scribe knelt beside a fallen log and opened the black record box. One silver hunt arrow dropped from the air and pierced the false bottom. A hidden packet slid out. The wax on it was dark green, stamped with a stag skull and a spear. Rowena's eyes narrowed. "That is not a sacred hunt seal." Gareth's voice went cold. "Read it." The scribe broke the wax. Auxiliary forest control map. Ravine corridor. Lower boundary trail. East route sink. Moonstag crossing. Snare density increased before sacred hunt. A young noble wretched into the snow. Clovis lifted his hand. Forest control is necessary when sacred prey overrun packland. Rowena stepped closer to the revealed map. Sacred prey do not set wires at wolf. Throat height. The arrow in her hand burned brighter. It pulled toward the map, then toward the north slope where the pines grew thinner. Rowena understood before anyone spoke. Her agency did not arrive as a crown, a cloak, or a man's permission. It arrived as a choice. She could stand there and let the pack admire her being right, or she could save them from what being right had uncovered. She turned from the map. Move the wounded, pride line back. No young hunter beyond this cedar. Older hunters with soft boots only. Scribe, mark every trap the arrows point to. Gareth, keep your nobles quiet enough that the forest can tell us what else Clovis's paper forgot. Gareth took the command without flinching. Yes, Rowena. She looked at him sharply. Not matron. Not old title. Her name. For once, not used to soften a wound. Used to obey the woman holding the path. She let it stand, but did not let it become forgiveness. Clovis's voice cut between them. You allow her to command you now? Gareth did not look at him. I allow the person who can read the killing ground to keep my pack alive. Rowena lifted the arrow. The other 11 turned with it. Together, they flew through the north slope and struck the snow in a wide circle. The ground shuddered. Beneath the frost, concealed gates opened one by one, revealing a long, hidden corridor of traps, bait lines, and sharpened stakes beneath sacred wolf banners. The scribe dropped to his knees beside the exposed map. His voice broke as he read the line the arrows burned across it. Illegal killing ground. Sacred hunt route laid through armed snare corridor. The exposed corridor ended the sacred hunt before any horn could call blood. Young nobles backed away from the open snow. Older hunters stood with their hands hanging useless at their sides, staring at the traps beneath the sacred wolf banners. The forest had not been prepared for prey. It had been prepared for bodies. Rowena Pike stood at the edge of the north slope with the silver hunt arrow in her hand. The other 11 arrows hovered above the armed corridor, each one pointing to a hidden hinge, wire, bait hook, or buried gate. Clovis Wren was the only man who still looked clean. That was how he survived rooms. Majesty, he said, voice controlled. Forest control maps are not murder. The silver pine has been difficult for years. Failed hunts weaken respect for pack law. Stronger measures were necessary. Rowena turned slowly. Stronger measures for whom? For order, Clovis replied. No, she said. For spectacle. You wanted young wolves afraid enough to ask for soldiers in sacred ground. The word soldiers moved through the pack like frost cracking underfoot. Gareth Vale looked at the open map. Read the annex purpose. The scribe knelt in the snow, his fingers shaking so badly, he nearly tore the bark strip. Objective: increase controlled hazard pressure along sacred route. Justification: repeated hunt failure supports petition for permanent armed forest authority under Huntmaster command. Lorien Ash made a broken sound. You wanted us to fail? Clovis looked at him with soft pity. I wanted the pack to understand the forest was no longer safe under old methods. Rowena's hand tightened on the arrow. So, you made it unsafe. Clovis's smile thinned. I made visible what your ribbons hid for decades. No, Rowena said. My ribbons kept boys from dying so men like you could call survival boring. The arrows dropped lower. One by one, they struck the snow around Clovis's boots. Not touching him, not attacking. Marking the space he stood in as if the forest itself had decided where the danger gathered. Gareth stepped forward. This time, Rowena did not stop him because he did not step beside her. He stepped before the pack. The sacred hunt was corrupted under my authority, he said. Clovis turned sharply. Majesty? No, Gareth said. The pack heard me accept your recommendation. The pack watched Rowena Pike stripped of her cloak. The pack heard me let caution be renamed weakness. Rowena did not look away. He continued, voice rougher but steady. I chose a clean public hunt over the woman who knew how the forest killed. That failure is mine. No excuse. No hiding behind Clovis. The words cost him in front of every wolf who feared him. That mattered. It did not resurrect the trust he had helped bury. Gareth looked at the scribe. Record Clovis Wren's annex under criminal hunt law. Armed snare corridors laid beneath sacred banners. Route records altered. Pike warning maps removed. Elder review excluded. Young lead installed before warnings were heard. The scribe wrote so fast, the quill split. Clovis's mask cracked at last. You will ruin the Huntmaster seat to satisfy one woman's wounded pride? Rowena laughed once, quiet and cold. Still wrong. You did not fear my pride. You feared my memory. The silver hunt arrow in her hand rose. It flew past Clovis and struck the black record box. The false bottom split fully open, spilling older bark strips into the snow. Gareth bent, lifted the first, and froze. Rowena saw the old white ribbon tied around it. Her ribbon. From years ago, Gareth's voice dropped. Read it. The scribe took the strip. Forbidden ravine incident. Young royal blood rescued from lower wire hazard. Public report sealed. Huntress Rowena Pike advised permanent elder review before all ravine processions. Clovis's eyes flicked toward Gareth. An old scandal. Gareth's gaze did not move from Rowena. An old debt. No, Rowena said. A hidden truth. Debt would mean you remembered it before today. The words struck him harder than any public accusation. He bowed his head once. Yes. The single word carried more weight than apology because he did not ask it to clean anything. The arrows lifted together and turned toward Rowena's stolen cloak on Lorien's shoulders. Lorien took it off before anyone commanded him. He walked through the snow and stopped several paces from her. His hands shook as he held it out. I was proud to wear it, he said. I did not understand what they used it to erase. Rowena looked at the cloak. The old silver thread wolf marks glimmered along the hem. For 27 seasons, that cloak had meant authority. This morning, it had been used as a knife. She did not reach for it. Lay it on the ground, she said. Lorien obeyed. Rowena placed the silver hunt arrow across the cloak. The fabric shivered. Then every white warning ribbon hidden in its seams came loose, unspooling like small ghosts of every trail she had saved, and every danger no council had wanted to hear. The pack watched the cloak become not a trophy, but a record. Gareth's voice came quiet. What do you want done with it? Rowena looked at him. Not returned. Witnessed. He understood. At last, he understood something before she had to bleed, explaining it. Gareth faced the pack. From this day, no sacred hunt route is cleared without elder huntress review. Warning ribbons are law until read and answered. No lead cloak may be transferred before forest records are opened. Rowena Pike's maps stand as binding evidence. Clovis stepped back, but 2 older hunters blocked him. No spectacle, no shouting. Just the forest closing around the man who had tried to turn it into a weapon. Gareth looked at Rowena. And your place? She held his gaze. Mine to decide. Yes, he said. The answer was immediate. Good. She picked up the cloak only after the arrows stopped trembling. She did not put it on. She folded it over one arm and tied the torn ribbon from her wrist around the top. I will rebuild the hunt law, she said, not as your ornament, not as your rescued mistake. As the woman who knew the woods before pride tried to rename them. Gareth's face softened, but he did not come closer. May I stand where you can see me doing the work? Rowena's heart hurt with the old memory of moss, blood, and a young alpha breathing because she had refused to leave him. You may stand where the truth stands, she said. For now, that is far enough. He bowed his head. Not to claim her, to accept the distance. Behind them, the silver hunt arrows rose into the pale morning and circled once above Rowena Pike, not crowning her, not choosing her, but marking the path around her as safe because she had spent a lifetime making it so. The pack did not kneel. They did something harder. They stepped back from the trail and waited for her to speak first. Rowena looked toward the silver pine, toward every hidden root, every scarred ravine, every warning still tied in white against the dark. Then she walked forward with her name restored, her truth witnessed, and her future no longer hanging from any man's permission.